In this week's Parsha, we have one of the most remarkable events. I'm not talking about the Egel tonight. One of the most remarkable events that appears in the Ayah Chumash. Moshe rabanu ascends to heaven. He goes up on the Har, and he's in a state of suspended animation. He's alive, but he's not alive. So he says, Lechem lo achalti, mayim lo shasisi. He doesn't have any human functions. And he's has this communication, kaviyochel, with the rabanu shalom. So his first task is to bring forgiveness for the Jewish people for the moshe Hegel. The rabanu shalom said, Heref mimeni, leave me alone, va'achale osam koroga, and then I'll destroy them. So Moshe understood, leave me alone, but if I don't leave you alone, then it's not going to happen. And therefore, Moshe's ascent, he said, Ulai, perhaps I'll be able, achapra about him, that I'll bring a kapora for you. So he does that. The Rabban Shalom agrees. Achal Moshe espnei Hashem alakov. And the Rabban Shalom said that he'll forgive the Jewish people, and he'll collect in the long term. The Chet HaEgel plays a role in every tragedy in Jewish history, because the Chet HaEgel constantly repeats itself in different forms. So today's Egel is a different Egel, but it's a different Getshke. And the Egel keeps on changing from generation to generation, from idea to idea. And there always are Jews that want to say, Eil Elohecha Yisrael. This is what Judaism is. It's this Egel, it's that Egel. Today it's progressive, it's whatever it is, whatever you call it. But Moshe prevailed that the Rabban Shalom Kaviyachal forgave the Jewish people, and they were not destroyed. So, as the Medrash puts it, Moshe feels that he has a level of success here, because he was able to bring the kapara. So now he extends, and he says to Rabbanu Shalom, Eidoa noes drachecha. Now that I'm here, and I'm in this state of spirituality, and you've acceded to my request, I have another request. How do you run the world? How does it work here? So how is schar vonesh? How is hashkocha protis? How can it be asher bochar bonu mikol ha'amim? What about the rest of the world? All the questions that are constantly nagging at us. How does it work here? What's the pattern? And the Rabban Shalom answers him, so to speak. Kilo yirani odam v'choy. Meaning that God is beyond our understanding. The human mind, our ability to know things and to assimilate knowledge, to think logically, all of the gifts that human beings have fall short of understanding God. You can't see Him, don't know what it is. But the Lord makes a compromise, so to speak, with Moshe. I'll put you in the cleft of the rock so that you'll be hidden, and I will pass before you, whatever that means. V'orisa es achorai, and you will see me from the back, from the rear. Uponai lo yero, but you won't see me. You won't really see me. So what does that mean? What does Moshe see here? There's nothing to see. Now, the Medrash says that Moshe sees the kesher of the tefillin kaviyachol of the rabanu shalom. The rabanu shalom kaviyachol also wears tefillin. So he saw the kesher in the back. That's what we say in Anim Zmiros, kesher tefillin hera le'onov. He saw the kesher tefillin. So it's interesting, the kesher tefillin is totally b'machlok, is what the kesher is. Just like the whole thing with tefillin, where there are different opinions as to what the tefillin should be. So the Ashkenazi kesher is a daled, and the Sephardic Chassidish Kabbalistic kesher is a square. But whatever it is, Moshe saw something, meaning that he understood something. So Rabbi Hirsch says in his parish, others say the same shot. We see God in retrospect. We see him in history. We look back over time, we can say, oh, that must have been the Hashgacha. That's what had to happen. Look at there's no other explanation for it. But upon lo yero, we don't see it now. In current events, we can't see it. And certainly the future is hidden from us. We can't know anything about that. And then we have the famous psukim, the Yud Gimel Midos. Vayavor Hashem al ponov. God, so to speak, sweeps past Moshe. Vayikra, and Moshe calls out, Hashem, Hashem, ke'rachum b'chanu, nerech apayim, rav chesed v'emes, notzeh chesed la'lofim, notzeh ovam v'fesha v'nakeh. And the Medrash says, the Gemara says that the Rabban Shalom told him that that's the formula how to appeal to God. That if an individual or Klal Yisrael has to appeal to the Rabban Shalom, they should do it in that form, to say the Yud Gimel Midos. And that's the whole idea of slichus that we have before Rosh Hashanah and the Aseres Yemei Tshuva and on the Yemei Tzom that we have. The main part of the slichus is Hashem, Hashem. The poem that precedes it are all different ones, collection over the ages. But the main part of the slichus is the Yud Gimel Midos that the Kodesh Baruch Hu has, that's Hashem, Hashem. And then there's naturally a machlekes, why Hashem, Hashem twice? Is that one midah? Is that two midahs? But it certainly is midas harachamim, because Yud Kei Vav Kei is the midas harachamim. So Moshe, when he comes down to tell the Jewish people, Omnom chatosem chatoa gdola, what you did is terrible. The Ma'aser Egel, it's not something that that somehow can be countenanced as it just happened. But you have a formula to get out of troubles. You have a way that the rabanu shalom was rachum v'chanun. So then this is the formula that remains. And that is the connection that we have, kaviyachol, to the rabanu shalom. And that remains until today. It's the basic part of tefillah, certainly, for instance, on Yom Kippur. So there, for instance, for Ne'ilah, the final prayer for forgiveness, so we say Hashem, Hashem 13 times. Because of the fact that again, that's the key to the forgiveness of Yom Kippurim. So therefore, we repeat Hashem, Hashem 13 times, and that becomes the vehicle for our forgiveness. So this parsha, like many parshas in the Torah, leaves us with more questions than answers. We don't quite understand how it works here and what happened there. And why the Torah describes it in that fashion, as though Moshe saw something. V'risas achorai, ponar lo yero. And that we see all the Meforshim discuss as to how we somehow have some understanding of that. But we certainly don't have the literal understanding of it. And there's no ponim, and there's no ochor, and there's none of that. So then it's all in the symbolism of the matter. And in the symbolism of the matter, we are supposed to have some sort of connection, some sort of attachment to the eternal, to the spiritual, to what cannot be described or touched or felt or seen. And that was always part of the difficulty, the challenge that the Jewish people faced, is that they were the only people in the world that has no it has no form to it to worship. I mean, that's the most of the Christian world is unable to deal with that. You have to have something. And throughout Jewish history and in all of the shilas and shuvas, there's a question: what can be done? So, for instance, Michelangelo, the great artist, so he made the creation of man, the famous painting. So he has a finger that touches another finger, the finger of man touching kaviyachol, the finger of God. But to us, that's blasphemy. The rabanu shalom has no fingers. But there's no other way that they could communicate it. It's too sophisticated. And the Romans used to say, therefore, all the Roman writers wrote, that the Jews are non-believers. They don't believe in anything. Because they don't have any, no statues, no idols, nothing. So if you don't have something concrete in front of your eyes, it means that you're an atheist. And the world was not sophisticated enough to know that. But by Klal Yisrael, we always knew that. And therefore, these difficult psukim, difficult parshas of the Torah, sometimes leave us with a certain uncertainty. But they're meant to do that as well, because you're not going to know everything. That's in effect what the Torah is telling you. And the Gemara says, "Bahari de kavshe rachmona lomalach." Whatever heaven is hidden from you, don't poke your nose into it. Don't be so curious. And that's the whole idea that Hitzitz people looked and they were stricken down, right? They pushed the envelope too far. They didn't realize that if you cross the line, it will have negative effects upon you. So that's how we have to look at these parshas, and we have to remember it when we say the Yud Gimel Midas ourselves. Rabbi Chananya ben Akashia Omer Rotz HaKadosh Baruch Hu L'Zakos Says Yisrael V'Chir B'Lahem Torah Mitzvot Shenemar Adonai Chafetz L'man Tzidko Yagdil Torah V'Yadir.
Thank you.